Do you want to create comic scripts at a much faster rate without sacrificing quality? That's what we're gonna do today. Check out the script that I just created. 2 pages in less than 20 minutes. And I'm a noob. Following my workflow, you'll be able to create hundreds of pages of comics in a short span of time without burnout, without writer's block to get in your way. Now, some of you might think that's too good to be true. Not this time. But for this to work, we're gonna need two things. Conversational AI like ChatGPT for the brainstorming, and an AI-powered database like Notion. Notion has a hierarchical organizational structure that allows you to organize scripts, character profiles, designs, and plot points. Did I mention you could use it for free? Anyway, let's get started. The idea is you start out broad and then flesh out each point individually until you reach the point of the script writing. The cool thing about working with conversational AI is that you have one chat that stores all the data for all the brainstorming and the discussions you've done, and the AI remembers all of them, so you don't have to remind them every time you want to brainstorm something new or add more entries to your story. And you can find the chat here if you're using ChatGPT, but other conversational AIs like Meta work the same way. Now, last time I brainstormed with ChatGPT regarding my story idea. If you're starting your story from scratch, I highly suggest that you watch that video first so you'll know how to flesh out your idea and set the stage for your story. In this video, I'm going to skip to the formulation of the plot points. Plot points are the main events. They move your story forward. But before you can create it, you need to have a good idea on what your story is going to be about. So be sure to watch this video if you're not quite sure where your story is going yet. As for me, I'm creating a global gangster story that's set in the Philippines. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to feed my ideas into the AI, and you'll see how it will be able to flesh out these ideas and perhaps refine them and give new suggestions and recommendations, which I have the choice to cherry pick from. Help me create the plot points of my story. Here's what I have in mind. So I already have a good idea what I want to write. A skirmish between a Filipino mafia led by the protagonist versus the Yakuza over the control of Cebu City. A loss and retreat of the Filipino mafia. Flashback of the protagonist's past. Full-fledged battle. The supreme kingpin of the Yakuza arrives in Cebu. Alright, so I got my rough draft of my plot outline. Just plucked this out of my head just now. So let's check out what the AI has to say. So as you can see, I now have the refined plot points and the AI fleshed out my ideas. Remember, I'm not gonna copy most of the generations here. These are only for idea generation, and it will help make my story richer. This might be more like a graphic novel than a single comic issue. So what you can do at this point is flesh out each individual plot points to make sure that everything is cohesive before you move on to the script writing. However, for brevity's sake, I'm just going to focus on the first part because this plot point could be a 20-page comic issue by itself. So what I'm going to do now is brainstorm further, focused on this plot point.
I think a good reason for their skirmish is control over drug trade. The Yakuzas are the de facto controllers in Cebu, while the Filipino mafia is trying to make their mark. Help me diverge this idea. Give me other potential reasons for conflict. At this point, let's focus on the first plot point first. We'll focus on the first skirmish between the Yakuza and Filipino mafia. Include a super drug that not only gets the user euphoric, but also makes them faster, stronger, more prone to violence and aggression. The Yakuza are threatened by this drug.
Now, after a few minutes of brainstorming, the AI was able to flesh out my initial ideas on plot point 1. Now, what's gonna happen is I'm going to pick apart everything here and find what I like, and then feed the AI more of my ideas, which are nearly finalized. This is a back and forth process. Essentially, you are using an AI as a tool to expand your creativity, and through this back and forth method, your story ideas are more divergent, and the results would likely be much more interesting. A few minutes later, I was finally able to let ChatGPT formulate all my ideas and write them down. Next, I'm gonna copy all of this and transfer them to Notion so it won't get lost in the conversation. As you know, the chat history is gonna be quite long, especially if you're gonna fully flesh out the entire story over time. At this point, we're finally gonna create the script for our comics. So these are the events of the first plot point. So let's start with this one. You're gonna have to think about how many panels you want there to be, how many pages, what will the dialogue look like, what will be the action scenes. You need to specify as much detail as you can to ensure that the story come out the same way you have envisioned. As for me, I want the opening scene to have 2 pages and roughly 5 panels each. Don't forget to let ChatGPT know that we're still dealing with plot point 1 as a comic script. It's very important that you specify that this is going to be a comic script. Focus on plot point 1 only. So here are the details that I want. Now, once you have laid out as many details as you want, indicate in the end to give a description on the visuals and dialogue. So ChatGPT was able to finally create a script out of my ideas. So what I'm going to do here is copy the results and transfer them to Notion. What I can do right here, and this is something you could do as well on Notion, is that you can create a new page. And here I'm going to indicate comic script, just so it's not going to be cluttered in one page. So now you have page 1 and page 2. So I'm not gonna take everything as is, and just by the look of it, it seems that a lot of things here can be changed. For example, the towering skyscrapers doesn't seem realistic because the setting is in Cebu City. We have tall buildings, that's about it. So I'm gonna change this to tall buildings, and much of the dialogue will have to be changed as well, but I'm gonna do that later. And what matters is that the broad aspects are already established, which would free up a lot of your creative juices for something else, for other things to do. And we have a lot of things to do. All right, let's get back to the main page. Next thing I need to do is flesh out the second event of plot point 1. And I'm gonna do this for every single event here, all 8 of them. Once plot point 1 is done, I could actually go back to the other plot points. These are the plot points of the story, and after I'm done with plot point 1, I will flesh out plot point 2, and then plot point 3, and then plot point 4. And from each of these plot points, I will also flesh them out into comic scripts. So again, the idea is you start out broad and then flesh out each point individually until you reach the point of the script writing. And that's how you end up with pages upon pages of these. Let me show you other examples I have. So I have a few stories here, like this one. You could also add images on Notion, by the way. So yeah, you could color code pages and panels. You could add in arcs, like the 3-act story. It's up to you how you design your plot, as long as you follow the principle of starting broad and fleshing each individual components one by one until you have a fully fleshed out script. You could also do this for short comic scripts, like this one, Devil's Gold. I just have the characters and 12 panels. So this could work for any type of medium. I'm just using comics as an example because that's the course that you're probably taking. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to illustrate your comic scripts using Midjourney AI. So no need for drawing as well. That's all for this video. Thank you so much. Have a good one.